Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Entertainment with Buford and Francis. Today, I'll be cosplaying as Francis from the Fairly Odd Parents and telling the story of Lady and the Tramp. Enjoy the video. On December 25th, 1909, Jim Dear gives his wife Darling a Cocker Spaniel puppy whom she names Lady. Growing up, Lady enjoys a happy life with them and a pair of dogs from the neighborhood, a Scottish Terrier named Jock and a Bloodhound named Trusty. Meanwhile, across town by the railway, a friendly stray silver mutt, referred to as Tramp, dreams to live in a home, be it begging for scraps from an Italian restaurant or protecting his fellow strays, a Pekingese named Peg and a bulldog named Bull from the local dog catcher. At one point, Lady sees a big, sinister-looking rat trying to sneak into the yard and chases it away. Later, Lady is saddened after Jim Dear and Darling begin treating her rather coldly. Jock and Trusty visit her and determine that the change in behavior is due to Darling expecting a baby. While Jock and Trusty try to explain what one is, the eavesdropping Tramp enters the conversation and offers his own opinions. Jock and Trusty take an immediate dislike to him and order him out of the yard. In due time, baby Jim Jr. arrives, and Jim Dear and Darling introduce Lady to him. Soon after, Jim Dear and Darling decide to go on a trip together, leaving their Aunt Sarah to look after Jim Jr. and the house. When Lady clashes with Aunt Sarah's two Siamese cats, Cy and Am, she takes Lady to a pet shop to get a muzzle. A terrified Lady escapes but is pursued by some stray dogs. Tramp sees the chase and rescues her. Then they visit the zoo, where Tramp tricks a beaver into removing the muzzle. That night, Tramp shows Lady how he lives footloose and collar-free, culminating in a candlelit spaghetti dinner. As Tramp escorts Lady back home, his last thing is to chase hens in a chicken coop, and then he is through being a stray. When they flee, Lady is caught by the dog catcher. At the pound, the other dogs admire her license, as it is her way out of there. It also turns out that they have known Tramp, and the dogs reveal to Lady that Tramp's had multiple girlfriends in the past, and feel it's unlikely that he'll ever settle down. Eventually, Lady is collected by Aunt Sarah, who chains her to the doghouse in the backyard. Jock and Trusty visit to comfort her and tell her that strays aren't allowed to be adopted. When Tramp arrives to apologize, thunder starts to rumble as she angrily confronts him about his past sweethearts, after which he sadly leaves. Moments later, as it starts to rain, Lady sees the same rat from before trying to sneak into the yard again. While it is afraid of her, it is able to evade her and enter the house. She barks frantically, but Aunt Sarah yells at her to be quiet. Tramp hears her and runs back to help. He enters the house and finds the rat in Jim Jr.'s room. The two engage in a vicious fight. Lady breaks free and races inside to find the rat on Jim Jr.'s crib, as it had intended on killing him. Tramp pounces on it, but accidentally knocks over the crib in the process, awakening Jim Jr. Tramp kills the rat, but when Aunt Sarah comes to Jim Jr.'s aid, she didn't see the rat, and she thinks they are responsible for attacking the baby. Aunt Sarah forces Tramp into a closet and Lady into the cellar before calling the pound to take Tramp away. Jim Dear and Darling return as the dog catcher departs with Tramp. They release Lady, who leads them and Aunt Sarah to the dead rat, vindicating Tramp. Having overheard everything, Trusty and Jock felt ashamed for how they mistreated and misjudged Tramp badly. To redeem themselves, they decided to chase after the dog catcher's wagon and rescue him. Jock is convinced Trusty has long his, since lost his sense of smell, but the latter is able to find the wagon. When Trusty and Jock race to the wagon, they bark at the horses, who rear up and topple the wagon onto a telephone pole. Jim Dear arrives by car with Lady, and she is happily reunited with Tramp. But their happiness is short-lived when they discover that the wagon fell on Trusty, much to Jock's sadness. Christmas returns, and Tramp is now part of Lady's family and has his own collar and license. As a reward for his heroism, the two dogs now have 4 puppies together: a son named Scamp, who looks identical to Tramp, and 3 daughters named Annette, Colette, and Danielle, who look identical to Lady. Jock and Trusty, who is carefully walking on his still mending leg, came to see the family. Tramp is happy to have finally become a house dog, and he and Lady live together happily with their children.